Welcome back to another episode of Strategic Rap Intelligence. I am your host, Robert Lee Taylor. Today, or tonight, depending on where you're located in the world, our topic of discussion is Jay-Z. I am going to point out some very interesting facts about Jay-Z that are lesser known to the general public and people around the world. To the casual observer, Jay-Z is an incredible performer. A lot of people like him. His successes and accolades speak for themselves. He's hugely successful. He's with Beyonce Knowles. It's hard to beat that. I have no beef with Jay-Z. I've never hated the guy in the colloquial or real sense. I've never had any animosity toward Jay-Z per se. Coming from the West Coast, I will have you know that I really haven't known a whole lot about Jay-Z. I really haven't. Now, that might sound crazy to someone who's a hip-hop fan, listener, consumer on the East Coast of the United States of America, but I'll give you an example of someone in the industry who said relatively the same thing, but in the opposite, converse manner. I believe it was Sean Combs who indicated that in the wake of Eric Wright, a.k.a. Eazy-E's death, he had, in fact, heard of Eazy-E, but he didn't really know much about the guy. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'll stand corrected if I'm wrong, but I believe I saw Sean Combs on television, P. Diddy, say that. I believe those were almost his exact words, or something to that effect, that he had no beef with Eazy-E, but when asked about his knowledge of Eazy-E, he said, well, I don't really, I heard that he was basically out west, and that he had this success with this album and this whole movement of NWA, but that he, Sean Combs, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, didn't really know much about Eazy-E. Now, I don't blame him, actually, because what some people don't realize is that when you live in different parts of the United States of America, what may seem popular in one area to you and your friends and fans may be almost virtually non-existent somewhere else. It's just the way that albums are distributed, musical recordings are moved about throughout the various markets. So you go somewhere and you hear that this artist or that artist or these artists are tremendously successful, popular, and that mostly everyone in that particular region or area likes those artists or that artist, and then you go somewhere else and people have never heard of that particular artist or those artists. So I don't blame Sean Combs. I don't blame P. Diddy when he said what he said about Eazy-E, because though I'm from the West Coast of the United States of America, and NWA had a huge impact and influence on my life during the time that I was in middle school, junior high school, hey, I know and understand clearly that in other parts of the country, people just didn't know about the NWA phenomenon. Yes, later, obviously, most people, hip-hop rap consumers, who can say that they listen to hip-hop rap and they don't know about Eazy, Eric Wright? But I'll tell you this, there are people that are young. I've been a teacher, and some of my students in the past, they, when on the subject of hip-hop, have asked me, when I've asked them who are the founders of hip-hop, they've actually said Snoop Dogg, because they were born in the 1980s or the 1990s, and they're young. They don't know. They hear about these first artists, and the very first artists that they were listening to were Snoop Dogg. So hey, somewhere in the United States of America, believe it or not, there are going to be those individuals who, again, believe it or not, have never heard of Eazy-E, have never heard of P. Diddy, Sean Combs, have never heard of Jay-Z. Well, hey, look, living back on the West Coast, when I was a youth, I had heard of Jay-Z. I had heard of his albums. I was someone who was, I consider myself a connoisseur of hip-hop. And I would see Jay-Z's albums at the record store, but mind you, we were taking our hard-earned monies from mowing lawns or raking leaves or washing cars or what have you, and we would go to the mall, and there were thousands of different tapes, and tapes at the time. CDs were non-existent virtually. And we'd have $100, and we could buy like 8 tapes with the tax. And, I saw Jay-Z's tapes, and no disrespect to Jay-Z, but I don't believe I ever purchased one of Jay-Z's tapes. I saw him, I believe I saw him on TV, Yo MTV Raps or something, maybe not, don't quote me on that, but I had heard of Jay-Z, and I didn't think that he was a bad rapper. I just didn't know much about him, And I was always fascinated by his album covers. I'm looking at his discography now, and I see Reasonable Doubt from 1996, In My Lifetime, Volume 1, 1997, Volume 2, Hard Knock Life, 1998, Volume 3, Life and Times of Sean S. Carter, 1999, The Dynasty, Rock La Familia, 2000, The Blueprint, 2001. I have had no animosity against this guy. I mean, it's Jay-Z, man. I mean, he's from the East Coast. I mean, you got to give props where props and credit are due. And I've always done that. I just haven't really listened to a whole lot of his music. It's not that I don't like the man. It's just that my interests have been different from that of other person's interests. Now, I've heard everything that he's had on TV. I've heard everything that he's had on MTV. I've heard everything that he's had on BET. On BET. I've heard everything that he's had on BET. I've heard what he's had on music television. I just haven't purchased his albums. I figure now I could listen to his music on the internet. Now, this is what I want to talk about. A lot of people don't really understand how online music charts work. And for those who don't know, I will have you know that when I started my own record label back while I was still in high school, and mind you, I graduated in the year 1993. My class was the class of 1993. And by the way, this is a multi-part show. Okay, so this show is going to continue into another 10-minute show, and then another 10-minute show. This is a series, and this series is dealing with this issue of Jay-Z and an interesting fact. And I like to deal with facts. Facts only, solely, information that is incontrovertible. In other words, it cannot be disputed. Now, you can debate it and you can argue it, but I'm telling you, the information that I have, it's not necessarily bad information, but it's information that most fans of Jay-Z and hip-hop and rap never knew about and they never thought about. And I want for you to seriously analyze and think about what information I have unearthed. Now listen, I'm not accusing anyone of anything. If anything, I'm thinking of it as an homage. But you will know at the end of this multi-part show, this series on the subject of interesting facts about Jay-Z, you will find that what I have demonstrated, what I have conveyed, what I have imparted is absolutely 100% correct, accurate, reliable. And if not, please, by all means, email me, post your video responses on YouTube, anywhere on the World Wide Web, and let me know information that you may have found to the contrary. But I'm telling you, I've got my ducks in a row. I've done the research on this. I saw this when it occurred, and I was quiet about it for many, many, many years, and I just laid low, in the cut, incognito. I didn't say anything about it, and now I'm bringing it to you, the world, for your review, for your analysis, your critiques and criticisms, and perhaps even ridicule. But I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm going to tell you how I see it. All right, so look, I attest to what I view as a fact that Jay-Z borrowed an idea from another artist without indicating that. I'm not saying a crime was committed. I'm not saying that he bit anybody's style in the colloquial hip-hop sense. I'm not saying that he stole anything. But I say that he, Jay-Z, Sean Carter, used an idea from another hip-hop rap artist for Jay-Z's own Dirt Off Your Shoulder rap that he released in the year 2003, which was the single from his Black album. Now again, I'm not accusing Jay-Z of a crime. I'm not accusing him of stealing anything. I'm simply saying that I have viewed and observed certain information that most of the human populace has not seen and known until just now. And I will prove this information in the following show, which is going to be part 2 to this episode of Strategic Rap Intelligence. Now look, man, I want for you, the audience out there, to make your own judgment, pass your own judgment. I'm telling you, if you think that I'm at the end of this whole thing, when everything is all said and done, I want for you, the audience, the world, to post and just say, man, if you think that I'm a hater because I posted this information, then just say so. Okay? We're going to take a poll, and we're going to see if in any way, shape, or form I disrespected Jay-Z by pointing out this information, or I was just simply making an observation that had I not made such an observation, no one would have ever known about this fact.